Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to go over a very effective short trading strategy. It works well to the upside as well, and that'll be next week's video. However, we're going to look specifically at short setups. We're going to make this as simple as possible because this trading strategy has allowed me to have a 100% win rate on Tesla shorts this month. That's only been 3 trades so far. However, all 3 trades hit all 3 of their take profits. So we had big percentage gains. These were all day trades, not swing trades. So we weren't really risking a whole lot. And as you'll see with all of them, we have considerably tight stop losses. So we're not risking a lot of money, but we're also not making a whole lot. But since Tesla contracts are expensive, you end up making a good bit of money even if you're only taking 10, 20, or 30%, which is usually what I'll go for. I'll go for around 20% profits. And that's what the average take profit has been, or the final take profit has been, with all 3 of these trades. So with that being said, let's look at how we find the setup. So we've got 3 setups to take a look at. The other one is up here. But we're going to start off with this one. This is the most simple one, and it actually worked out the best because, as you can see, my final take profit, ended up being around where price reversed. And that was on purpose, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how. So step 1, how do we enter this short position? First, we want to find a range where Tesla has rejected off of, and in this case, it's going to be this consolidation range where we see candles rejecting off of this specific range. We see the wicks in the range, but not the candles. Instead, they are closing right below the range, so that's where they are rejecting off of. And we see a few moves here. A good sign is when you have a big move down from this range, and like a very quick move, so within 1 or 2 candles. That's a good sign that you're looking at a valid range where institutions are looking to sell the stock, because of course it is institutions trading and not retail traders trading that really make, the big moves. So with that being said, we found this zone. We found that the day prior to taking the trade, anticipating that after going back up from our buy zone, it would then reject off of that zone again. And of course, this buy zone is just where we're buying shares of. It has nothing to do with this trading strategy. So the next day, we're waiting for price to come back up into the zone, and usually what I like to see is for price to go into the zone, then reject at the top and close below. Once price closes below, we enter short, okay? And that's why I didn't go short immediately once price just touched the zone. I could have, and I could have made a good amount of money. We could have hit almost 2 take profits, and at that point, if it comes that close, you end up trimming. So you could have made a considerable amount of money there, but I like to play it safe, and I like to be in and out of my trades pretty quickly, especially my day trades. And so I waited for a more, for lack of a better word, perfect setup. So price came up pretty quickly, rejected off the zone, came back up into the zone, and then closed below. I went in short. And you may be wondering what these blue lines are. So when I enter a trade, I'll enter with 10 options contracts, and I will scale out. I'll trim to minimize risk. That way I can secure profit as I make profit, just so that I don't give that back. So our first take profit, our first trim, happens at a level we choose, and that I chose my first take profit to be right here at 167.03 because that's where we saw a rejection here where price reversed, and that's where we saw consolidation all over here where price really slowed down. So that's a spot where I'm thinking, you know what, if it goes down there, I want to secure some of my profits because just in case it comes back up, I won't be losing money or giving back a lot of money. And so once it hits my first take profit, I set my stop loss to break even so I no longer can lose money on the trade. And then we look for a take profit number 2. In that case, it was this level because that's where we saw this rejection and that's where we saw this breakout. We also saw a little bit over here, but not a whole lot, not enough to define it as a zone. This really helped to define it, as a take profit, not a zone. And so that was my take profit 2. I trimmed 8 out of my 10 contracts, so it's 80% of my total position. and then I took my full position out of the market here to 10 out of 10 contracts, and that was because I saw this big move, this big rejection, this big rejection, and of course a few rejections here. So I wanted to be out of my position before any big moves could come in and potentially stop me out, and that's what ended up happening. As you guys can see, I set my take profit before these, so I didn't have to risk it, having a sharp move up. And it worked out very well. It won't work like this, at least this perfectly every single time. This was a very, very good example. That's why I'm starting with this, but then we'll move on to some other scenarios, because sometimes, as you'll see, you'll end up taking profit too quickly. And that's totally fine, because profit is profit, especially with Tesla. If you're taking already this much profit with 10 contracts, that's like over $100 just from one trade. So it's what I would say is enough for one trade, one intraday trade. So let's go on to our second setup. This one made about $300 in profit, and that was with 10 contracts. A very similar situation. The only thing was, instead of having a previously hit and rejected off of a zone, we found one live. So as soon as we saw this rejection, as soon as price came up here and then started closing below, right? See how this closes right below? That's where we know where our range is, right? Because we've got the bottom and the top, that's our range. And so we took this, we went short right here. When I say we, I just mean anyone who's watching me live trade, as well as the friends that I trade with in person, whether it be in class or just at home. We took this short, and actually on the very first candle, it ended up having a very sharp move down. Second candle hit our first take profit, and price does move quickly, so you have to be ready to take profit rather quickly. So make sure you're using a broker that lets you, fill these orders quickly. Then we hit take profit 2 on the very next candle, so like I said, very quick. And then I set my stop loss to break even, so I couldn't lose money on the trade. I thought I was going to get stopped at a break even here when we saw these moves up, but they ended up wicking, and price came down to hit take profit 3. Soon after, it did have a reversal, so I could have taken a little bit more profit before that, but I just saw that around this area we were seeing these wicks, so I didn't want to, risk too much, right? And I was very happy making about $300 with that trade. So let's go on to our final setup, because I know this is getting to be a long video already. We may have passed it already. Let's see, is it over here? Just bear with me. Here it is. Alright, so right here you guys can see that I took profit a little too quickly, so price ended up tanking. I could have made about 100% or more on these contracts, which would have been over $1,000. However, instead I took about 30%, which is still massive for at least the last two contracts at 30%. The others were more like 10 and maybe 15 to 20%, which is still impressive numbers for 10 contracts of Tesla. So this was a zone that had been tested before. We saw consolidation here. We saw a rejection, rejection, rejection. Here was a great example of price going into the zone and then closing below. And so once price did that again, I knew I was ready to go short. So it gets back into the zone, it closes below, I go in short with 10 contracts, and boom. Price went straight down, hitting the first take profit. We moved our stop loss to break even. It hits the second take profit down here, and then not too long after, it ended up hitting the third take profit. So that was great. That was a good trade, and that just shows you, because of how quick it can happen, that you should have a broker that you can really fill those orders quite quickly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It is a longer video. I try not to make them too long, but if you feel like you learned something from this video because of how effective this trading strategy is, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, because I'll be uploading many more videos like this, showing trade recaps, showing live trades, things like that. And of course, I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube so that I can get monetized. So that'd be great. With that being said, thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.